The Oakland study in our family's sprawling mansion. Though study is generous, it's basically a cathedral for leather-bound books and ancestral judgment, felt unusually stiff, like someone had injected the air with formaldehyde in mild disdain. My parents and siblings converged around the vintage oak table, which, let's be honest, has probably seen more family drama than my entire adult life combined. Mom had called it an essential family financial summit. I call it the annual roast of Emily. Golden late afternoon light poured through the towering windows, illuminating the room in a way that made everything look both majestic and judgmental. The shelves of leather-bound books and classic oil portraits seemed to whisper, "Yes, Emily, we see you." And we are silently disappointed. Michael, my brother and the human embodiment of a LinkedIn ad, lounged with perfect ease in his custom-tailored suit. "Just back from London," he said to no one in particular, probably to remind everyone that he exists in a world where champagne is a dietary requirement. Rachel, my sister, fiddled with her luxury handbag as if the universe might explode if she didn't check her designer watch for the third time. And then there was me, the family outlier, perched at the far end of the table in a sweater I thrifted ironically and jeans that have seen better days. I'm 28, running a nonprofit, saving the world in small ways and apparently, making myself the financial villain of the household. Dad cleared his throat. Oh, that throat. The one that could probably silence a small parade. "Before we start," he intoned as though preparing to announce the end of civilization, "I want everyone to know this discussion is about fiscal discipline and securing our family's financial future for generations." Mom nodded solemnly, spreading out a series of financial reports across the gleaming table. "We've been assessing our yearly family support costs and major changes are needed. The current setup just isn't viable long-term." Michael leaned in, eyes sparkling with the thrill of wielding power over me. "The figures are undeniable. Our family's financial aid has ballooned in recent years, and we need to introduce accountability, especially for those who haven't shown proper gratitude for the support they've gotten." Rachel's eyes flicked toward me. "Some people need to take responsibility," she added, voice like a metronome of judgment. I chewed my salad slowly. $45,000 per year, non-profit style, apparently qualifies as criminal negligence in my family's eyes. What they didn't know, and I wasn't about to volunteer, was that my modest lifestyle was a brilliant cover for something far more complex and legally intricate. Dad continued, glancing at his notes like he was reading a sacred scroll. "The family emergency fund is being drained. Endless requests for help with rent, car repairs, unexpected costs, everyday expenses. This culture of reliance has to stop." Mom's gaze zeroed in on me, steely and unwavering. "Certain family members have grown far too comfortable using the family's wealth as their personal cushion instead of building true financial independence and career drive." I imagined a slow-motion scene where their collective judgment physically pressed down on me, like a financial guillotine about to drop. Michael, calm and condescending, added, "Your nonprofit work is noble in theory, but it's not sustainable for someone your age. You need a career that supports a proper adult lifestyle." Rachel, ever the moral compass of self-righteousness, chimed in, "The constant requests for financial help have to end. It's enabling behavior that stunts real growth and maturity." I picked at my salad again, imagining that if I chewed long enough, I could silently bite through the absurdity of the situation. Effective immediately, Mom declared like a monarch delivering a royal edict. No more financial aid for non-emergencies, no rent subsidies, no car repair funds, no support for discretionary spending. The words reverberated through the study. I could almost hear the rare first editions whispering, "Emily, you've done it again. How dare you exist?" Dad, adjusting his glasses with precision that suggested he might perform surgery next, added the final blow. "Family trust distributions that have been propping up various family members will now require documented need and approved budgets." I nodded sagely as if I were taking mental notes, while quietly opening my phone. Rachel had already sent a particularly sanctimonious emoji-laden lecture about my irresponsible lifestyle. I tapped. "No more automatic monthly allowances without oversight. We're not your personal ATM anymore," Mom snapped, tone sharp enough to slice through the marble of our study. "It's time to sink or swim like every other adult out there." I felt a familiar thrill of irony. Here they were, lecturing me about financial independence, oblivious to the fact that their very own monthly stipends depended on a decision I was about to make. My phone buzzed, and I discreetly checked the notification from Whitman Trust Management. The message was succinct but deliciously heavy. Monthly allowance approval required for Michael Thompson, $15,000, Rachel Thompson, $12,000, Eleanor Thompson $8,000, and Charles Thompson $18,000. Please confirm by 5 p.m. today. I glanced up at their self-satisfied faces, like a prideful herd of financial lions, and fought back laughter. Do you have anything to say about these new financial terms? Dad asked, expecting perhaps a grateful nod, a tear, or a heartfelt "thank you, daughter, for your wisdom." I tapped the phone, typed "denied" for all 4 requests, and placed it face down on the table. Their expressions faltered almost immediately. Actually, I said, voice calm as a Zen master in a hurricane, there seems to be some confusion about our family's financial setup. Before anyone could respond, or gasp appropriately, the study door swung open. Enter a poised woman in a sleek business suit, holding a leather briefcase, and radiating just the right mix of apology and authority. "Miss Thompson, I'm Patricia Williams from Whitman Trust Management. I'm sorry to intrude during your family meeting, but we need your immediate signature on some urgent quarterly trust documents." Confusion rippled across the family like a shockwave. Patricia walked straight to me. Dad blinked, momentarily dethroned. "I'm sorry," he said, voice wavering just enough to betray panic, "but I handle all trust matters for this family. Any documents should come to me." Patricia looked genuinely taken aback. "I'm afraid there's a misunderstanding, Mr. Thompson. Emily has been the primary trustee and financial overseer of the family trust since her 25th birthday. All distribution decisions and account management fall under her authority." A thick silence descended. You could almost hear the antique clock ticking judgmentally. "That's impossible," Michael said, voice trembling in disbelief. "Emily works for a nonprofit. She doesn't have the expertise or legal power to manage a trust." Patricia opened her briefcase and produced several official-looking documents with a flourish. "In fact," she said, "Miss Thompson earned her financial planning certification and trust administration credentials 3 years ago. She's been managing the family trust portfolio with great success since then." Mom's face went the color of an unpaid electric bill. "What family trust portfolio?" Patricia, unfazed, consulted her papers. "The Thompson Family Trust, established by your late father, currently valued at approximately $23.7 million, providing monthly distributions to all family members at the trustee's discretion." I let it sink in, letting my words roll over them like a velvet hammer. "The monthly allowances you all receive," I said softly, "come from the trust." "My trust." Rachel's usual confidence faltered like a Wi-Fi signal during a thunderstorm. "This is absurd," she snapped. "We would have been informed about something this significant." Patricia calmly produced a certified copy of the trust documents. "The trust stipulates that control passes to the youngest child at 25, with the expectation that they support family members at their discretion." Dad's hands shook as he scanned the legal text, confirming his worst nightmare. "Emily Thompson has been the sole trustee with full discretionary authority for the past 3 years." I nodded, sweetly, as if I'd just won a chess match against a bunch of people who thought checkers was life. "I've been overseeing all your monthly allowances, investments, and distributions while you assumed I was scraping by on my nonprofit salary." My phone rang. A number flashed on the screen, the family's private banking division. "Excuse me," I said, answering my phone while maintaining laser-sharp eye contact with my increasingly anxious family. Because nothing says power move like multitasking emotional destruction and phone call simultaneously. "Miss Thompson, this is David Chin from First National Private Banking," the calm, overly polite voice said. "We've received your denial for this month's family allowances. Should we place holds on the associated accounts?" "Yes, proceed with the holds until further notice," I replied smoothly, as if I were ordering a latte and not temporarily suspending $53,000 in family cash flow. "All automatic transfers are now suspended pending your review," he confirmed. I hung up and turned back to face the room, where stunned expressions had officially replaced their earlier smug confidence. "That was the bank confirming your monthly allowances have been paused," I said, sweetly savoring each syllable. "Monthly allowances," Mom whispered, her voice trembling like a poorly tuned violin. Patricia, ever the professional, checked her tablet. "Michael Thompson receives $15,000 monthly for business and living expenses. Rachel Thompson gets $12,000 for lifestyle maintenance. Mrs. Eleanor Thompson receives $8,000 for discretionary spending. Mr. Charles Thompson gets $18,000 for household and personal costs." The numbers landed like thunderbolts, individually striking each member of my family. "This is outrageous." Dad erupted, though it sounded more like a panicked puppy than a figure of authority. Even if this paperwork is real, I built this family's wealth. I managed our finances for 30 years. I deserve control over our money. You didn't build this wealth, I said, voice calm as if I were explaining gravity to a toddler. Grandfather did. And he designed the trust to pass to someone who proved both financial savvy and a commitment to helping others. My nonprofit work wasn't a misstep, it was the qualification. Patricia nodded solemnly. The trust explicitly requires the successor trustee to show professional financial management skills and dedication to charitable causes. Michael's phone was out, frantically scrolling, likely seeing declined transactions in real time. Emily, this is madness. My business expenses, client entertainment, operational costs, they all rely on that monthly distribution which you just said should end because we were too dependent on financial aid. Rachel's hands shook as she frantically refreshed her banking app. My credit cards are being declined. My spa appointment, my shopping plans, everything's bouncing. That's what happens, I explained patiently as if talking to particularly wealthy toddlers, when automatic payments are suspended. The same thing you wanted to happen to me. My phone buzzed again. Another call. The trust investment team. Lovely. I put it on speaker. Miss Thompson, this is Jennifer Walsh from Portfolio Management, said a crisp voice. We need to discuss the real estate holdings. Should we continue covering property taxes and maintenance for the family properties? I scanned the room. The study, which had hosted decades of family lectures, looked suddenly like a stage for an epic financial intervention. We're talking the main estate, the vacation homes, investment properties, commercial real estate, the works. All trust assets requiring ongoing oversight. Jennifer continued, her tone calm but merciless. What happens if trust funding for property maintenance stops? Property tax defaults would start within 60 days, followed by maintenance issues, insurance lapses, and potential foreclosures on leveraged properties. I let that sink in, letting my words hover in the air like smoke from a freshly lit candle. Mom looked faint. Our home, this sprawling, judgmental estate, is owned by the trust, Patricia confirmed. Apparently, I've been quietly footing all household expenses, property maintenance, and family living costs for 3 years while my family strutted around thinking they were fiscally independent superheroes. Dad was on the phone, making frantic calls to his banker and accountant, voice rising in panic. I could hear snippets, trust documentation, successor provisions. Emily's authority. What do you mean she's been managing everything? I watched my siblings' faces contort as reality slowly dawned. The family members who had just lectured me about responsibility? I said, voice calm, savoring every syllable, you just learned you're the ones receiving financial support. All of it. And it's been coming from me. Another call came in, this time from the household management company. Miss Thompson, the domestic staff payroll is due tomorrow. Should we proceed with payments for housekeeping, gardening, and maintenance staff? I looked around at my family's horrified expressions. Let's hold all staff payments pending a full budget review, I said sweetly. The caller blinked. Understood. All staff will be notified their positions are under review. Rachel began to cry like a toddler denied candy at a checkout line. Emily, you can't fire the household staff. Mom depends on them. This house needs constant upkeep. I arched an eyebrow. The same way I depended on family support, until 15 minutes ago, I reminded her. What was it Mom said? Time to sink or swim like every other adult. Michael's business phone was ringing non-stop. Vendors, clients, partners, all discovering his lavishly funded lifestyle had just gone on pause. Emily, please, Dad pleaded, voice flailing. We can sort this out. We're family. We are family. I gave a calm, measured nod. And as family, I said, relishing the irony, I've been supporting you all for 3 years without complaint or recognition, until today when you tried to cut me off from support you never controlled. Patricia handed me a detailed financial report. The trust had thrived under my management. 18% annual returns, diversified investments, sustainable distribution policies. Sustainable, until now, I added with a sardonic smile. Apparently, the model assumed family unity and mutual respect. Those assumptions may need adjusting. I surveyed my family, each slowly realizing their financial security rested on someone they just tried to shame and abandon. The oak furniture, the ancestral portraits, even the antique clock seemed to watch the seismic shift, silently judging every tantrum and gasp. Here's what's happening, I announced, my voice steady despite the emotional storms swirling around me. Monthly allowances will be restructured with new accountability measures. Dad blinked. What? My allowance? Yes. Your allowance is now $12,000 monthly, with expense reporting required. Mom's jaw tightened. Mine? $6,000 with oversight on discretionary spending, I replied. Michael and Rachel both gasped. $8,000 each, subject to quarterly financial reviews, I added, letting the words hang like a particularly delicious guillotine blade. But those amounts won't cover our expenses. Michael protested. Then you'll need to adjust your spending to match your income, I said sweetly. Like you advised me to live within my means. Patricia handed me a revised trust agreement. I'm also introducing mandatory financial counseling and budget planning for all beneficiaries, I said. Financial counseling? Rachel sobbed. You're treating us like kids. I'm treating you like adults who need to learn financial responsibility, I corrected, eyes gleaming. Exactly what you said I needed. Dad stared at the trust documents, eyes hollow, realizing the gravity of the shift. What about this estate? Our home? It will be maintained, I said with a sardonic pause, as long as trust beneficiaries show appreciation and maintain respectful relationships. Hostile actions toward the trustee could trigger housing allowance reviews. Mom grabbed my arm, voice trembling. Emily, we're truly sorry for what we said. We didn't know the real situation. Now you do, I replied gently. And now we have formal trust agreements reflecting the true financial dynamics, not your assumptions about who supports whom. Patricia finalized the paperwork with a flourish, looking far too serene for someone who had just helped orchestrate a financial coup. These terms are effective immediately, she announced. All family members will receive written copies of their revised allowance schedules and accountability rules. I leaned back, watching my family as they begrudgingly signed the agreements. The expressions on their faces were a mixture of disbelief, horror, and the faint dawning realization that their previously pampered lives were now entirely contingent on me. The very person they'd called financially reckless 15 minutes ago. Priceless. Michael muttered under his breath. I can't believe this. I'm paying attention to her now. Yes, Michael, I said sweetly, and I'd suggest you get used to it. Practice makes permanent. Rachel sniffled dramatically. This is humiliating. We didn't know. You didn't know, I repeated, letting the words linger like a perfectly timed exclamation point. But now you do. And now you have signed documents acknowledging it. Dad opened his mouth, likely to protest, then paused as his gaze landed on the revised figures. Well, I suppose we can adapt, he muttered, though I could hear the panic lurking beneath the diplomatic phrasing. I smirked and raised a finger for emphasis. One last thing, I said as Patricia packed up her leather briefcase, the picture of efficiency and quiet menace. The nonprofit work you dismissed as frivolous? It's growing. The trust will establish a $5 million charitable foundation, reducing funds available for family distributions. The words hit like a financial bombshell. Eyes widened, jaws dropped, and I swear I heard Rachel's handbag hit the floor with a thud of betrayal. Money they'd assumed would be theirs forever was being rerouted, gasp, to the charitable work they'd ridiculed over dinner conversations and passive-aggressive brunch comments. Michael swallowed hard. Wait, we're actually losing money to charity? Yes, I said, voice calm and serene like a goddess of financial karma. Charity. The very thing you mocked while advising me on how to grow up and get a real career. Rachel hiccuped audibly. You're serious? Absolutely, I replied, standing and letting my presence fill the study. Just learn one thing. I am your bank, your landlord, your employer, and your financial future. Tomorrow you'll receive your reduced allowances, begin mandatory financial counseling, and start living within budgets you've never had to consider. Dad rubbed his temples. I guess that's fair. Michael groaned. Fair? Emily, you're ruthless. Ruthless? I said, smiling serenely as I surveyed my now silenced audience. No, Michael. I'm responsible. I'm consistent. And I'm finally appreciated. Rachel sniffled again, this time more sobbing than dramatic gasp. I can't believe she's actually controlling all of this. Believe it, I said, voice tinged with the mildest sarcasm. The nonprofit administrator you all dismissed as financially irresponsible has revealed herself as the family's financial cornerstone. Love this story? Like, share, and subscribe for more epic audio adventures. Stay curious and keep listening.